So I'm so excited to talk to you, and I'm so excited that you are going to be on the show and taking some time. It's really
My
great.
pleasure. No, I'm glad we could finally do it.
For sure, for sure. Well, I'd love to start talking about Why Not with Bayliss recently. Like,
Sure.
how great was that?
Oh, it was so nice. It was so nice to A, play music, and B, play music with someone that you mildly like. It was great.
For sure,
You
for
know?
sure. So were you in town working on something else, or was it just like, hey, let's get together and play some music?
No, we planned it a few weeks out, and um I mean, that's something that we've never done together before too. So just thought it would be a cool idea. We knew we would have fun, and we assumed that other people would like it. We hoped other people would like it. And I don't even remember the last time was that I saw him or Annie or really anybody. So I haven't even laid eyes on him for probably a year and a half or something at that point. So just to be in the presence of a friend at that point was exciting in and of
For
itself.
sure.
Weird things that you totally take for granted. And um, but it was so nice. We had such a great time.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Anyway, I mean, the wine knots have just been
Yeah.
such a light.
Yeah.
Some weeks you're just like, oh, thank God, I need this so bad.
Yeah.
But to see you two playing and singing together is a treat. Anyways, I love you guys as a duo, but I mean, it was so much fun.
Oh, good. I'm glad. We had a blast.
Yeah, you could tell everybody was having a good time for sure.
Yeah. It's a little strange. The stream is always weird. You can't feel if anyone is having a good time, and we don't have the chat. We don't read, we're just going blindly in a basement. Like, well, I hope people are at least enjoying themselves a little bit. So it's
For
always
sure.
like a funny feeling for the first couple of tunes, and then you realize, oh, this is just what we're gonna do. This feeling isn't gonna go away, so we should just get over it.
Yeah, for sure. How many live streams have you done like in the past year? I know you did that one with Chris and Jeff Coffin and
Yeah,
this
very
one with
few.
Faith.
That's
Yeah.
actually one of the only ones that I did. Um, the interesting thing, I don't play a chordal instrument, so nobody wants to hear me just like by myself playing trumpet. That's weird. So I haven't really done any, and I'm okay with that. I think it's been necessary for some people. It's been necessary for people to hear it, and necessary for musicians to be able to play. I get sad with the quality of sound that gets put out through a computer speaker and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of just used this year as a, working on writing and not really doing any streams. I think I did those too. And then I did obviously the Beacon stuff, which is a whole other animal and
Yeah.
suffered from no quality issues there. That's not your computer speaker and
Yeah.
microphone. But yeah, those were kind of the only two I did, I think.
Yeah. It's nice that you're able to take this time to, kind of focus on other things.
Yeah. I mean, it's nothing that I ever would have chosen to do had I not been forced to go home. So right. It's really, it's about how many silver linings you can find.
For
I
sure.
never, ever spent this kind of time at home, ever. Not even close. The
Yeah.
longest I spent at home probably in the last 10 years is consecutively, maybe 3 weeks.
Wow.
And now we're rolling on a year.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool. It's I'm psyched that there seems to be a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, but it's been a learning experience for all of us, obviously. So
for sure. What are some things you've been doing, like not music related, during the past year?
We bought a house right before everything shut down.
Oh wow.
We really hadn't even spent a night in. Because my husband and I both went back on tour. We bought the house, signed the papers, went back on tour the next day, and were sent home in March. So we had barely, I think, maybe spent one night in our house. So we got to go home and like set up our house and live in it instead of just drop a bag and do laundry and pick up another bag.
Yeah.
So that's been really cool. Spending time together has been great. I've been cooking a ton and relaxing, which is not something that we do.
Yeah.
The life of a musician is very much like, okay, what are the next 10 things I need to concentrate on?
Right.
So of being forced to not have that to think about, and really check in and see if I'm actually okay is something that I've never done. So, I sort of, for the first 3 months, I really just shut down and didn't talk to anybody, didn't call anybody, didn't do anything, didn't, do anything musical, didn't pick up my horn, which is really weird. And I just sort of sat and let the last 15 years of being on the road sort of dissipate until I was at a point where I said, okay, cool. Now, what is it that I would actually, that I want? Because I know what I've been doing 310 days a year. So but is this actually what I want? Is this how I want it to look? Is this what I want my life to feel like and sound like and look like? And so I, got to make some decisions from a place of wholeness, which is, like I said, not where we usually operate from. So anyway, I'm not going to come out of this pandemic being on the road 300 days a year. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Really unnecessary. So.
Yeah, I think that is what this time has done for a lot of people in all areas of their life. It's really made them look and think about, is that really how I wanted to live my life, do my day to day? Are these really even the relationships I wanted in my life? Right. Maybe, it's really made people take that time to think about these areas in their lives.
Yeah. What a gift. I mean, that's major. That's some major stuff, major life stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So I would love to know some more about where you grew up and your family.
I grew up in the woods. I grew up in the woods in Vermont, in the northeast corner, in a town of 400 people.
Nice.
I grew up in a big old musical family. My dad was the only one who didn't play an instrument. My mom's whole side of the family, her parents, everybody was a musician. Wow. Lots of brass players. My grandma was a trumpet player. My aunt played French horn. My other aunt was a tuba player. Everybody played brass instruments except my mom. And so our house was just always filled with music and classical music, brass quintets, all that kind of stuff. So I never really stood a chance to do anything else, which I'm totally fine with. I'm happy about, because I like what I do. So, but yeah, music was a part of many hours a day of our daily life.
That's awesome. That's very awesome. So is grandma the reason why you chose trumpet, or?
I tried them all. I started on piano and then went to clarinet and flute and sax. And then my grandma brought me a tuba. I was it must have been 8 or 9. And she walked in on me practicing alto sax when I was 8 and said, "You have way too much hot air to be playing that stupid thing." And handed me a tuba. My grandma's very blunt.
Sounds like it. She sounds like quite a lady.
She's a real Vermont farmer. She's so rad. So anyway, so I started playing tuba. It was not a lot. And then my uncle actually was a music teacher, and he's like, "I really need somebody to play trumpet in my school band." I didn't even go to his school, but everything's so small up there that you can kind of just pop around. So he's like, "I really need a trumpet player. So here." And I was 10 and he gave me a trumpet. And I was like, "Ooh, this thing now, this." So after trying virtually every other instrument, I stuck with trumpet. That felt the best.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. I love that. I just love your grandma. I've only heard very little of her, but she seems like she was such a badass.
You know what? Can people only see this, or can they only hear it? It's only podcast, not visual?
No, I have a YouTube channel too, so they'll be able to see the video too. Yeah.
So I'm going to find you a picture right now of my grandma. Ah, man. Stall for time. So my grandma, when she was 19 years old, played in an all-girl band that used to travel with the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, wow.
Unbelievable. So I came home from my first tour when I was 19 or 20. And she's telling her stories. And she's like, "You're not the only chick in this family to travel around on a bus and play music." And I didn't know at that point. I was like, "What do you mean?" So I learned all about this. They had a nationwide search for female musicians all over the country. And she tried out, and she got in the band and was with them for years. Oh my God.
That's
This is
incredible.
so at the ready because it's so amazing.
Wow.
Like 19 and in essentially like a little cheerleader outfit. And like, oh, come on. We can
Oh,
edit,
man.
right? Um, that's such a good picture. Where did it go?
Oh, that's an incredible story. I love hearing about badass ladies from back in the day.
Yeah, because people are like, oh, it's so cool that you play trumpet. And I'm like, is it though? Because like my grandma was born in the 20s and like she was doing it. And that to me is badass.
That's pretty badass because there weren't very many women musicians and
No,
like,
not at all.
yeah,
She's a total rock star.
that's so
Okay,
cool.
I know I had it. Okay, so this is her in. Let me get the year right. This is 1948. This is my grandma.
Oh,
And you can't really
wow.
bad details because it's on a computer with a phone.
Yeah.
And then my dad actually found her contract, which you can't see. Hang on, see if this will. Nope. Okay. He found her contract that she signed when she was 19 years old and like how much she would be making and what was expected of her. It's so cool that they found it all. But anyway,
That is so cool.
that's where I come from. I come
That
from a
is
long
so rad.
Canadians who are just doing stuff because they enjoy doing it. So I never grew up thinking it was like strange that I played a brass instrument until I left home. And everybody started saying, oh, it's weird that you don't play. Not in my house. It's weird if you don't. So.
Actually, it's not. So you're weird.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you mentioned that you're in Vermont now, but you live in Nashville. So what took you to Nashville?
My husband.
Nice.
I married a really beautiful, big old Southern gentleman.
Nice.
He's from just over the Mississippi border, like next to Memphis. And so he just kind of wanted to get out of there. We wanted to stay close to his family and wound up in Nashville, kind of thinking that maybe eventually someday when we wanted to get off the road that we could actually work in our own city and sleep in our own bed, which is something that we've never done.
Yeah.
He plays bass.
Oh,
and
nice.
So that was
and Nashville certainly offers that too for you guys.
They do. So and it's funny because we've been there 8 years, but of those 8 years, I've probably spent 7 of them on the road. So no, people still don't know that I'm there. I still don't know anybody. Oh, you're from Nashville? Do you know? And I'm like, you can stop right there. The answer is no. I don't know anybody who lives there. I just when I go home from tour, I just want to be in my house and quiet for a couple of days before I have to leave again. So when I'm in town, I don't go out. So this would have been a really great time over the last year to go out and see stuff, but everyone's home for the same reason.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
Wah, wah. So what kind of music did you listen to growing up? You talked about a lot of classical music in your house, but what kind of music were you into? Like the classic rock or the music of the 80s or?
I'm 40. I was born in 1980 and my whole upbringing was all classical music. Once in a while, if I was like on some sort of road trip with my dad, he would dare turn on the radio. But like it was very much like it was not something that we did. Like I didn't turn on a radio until I was like probably 14 or 15. So my knowledge of stuff that I should know from the era that I was born in is very little. And then I got super into jazz when I was like 14, 15, 16. And my focus kind of shifted over to that. And then all of a sudden I was in a jam band, which I knew nothing about. And so, yeah, my life has been sort of strange. My musical life has been strange.
That is very interesting.
Yeah.
That's good though, to have such a base in classical music. I mean, there's not very many people that can say that is what was in their household.
Right. No, I mean, my mom used to punish us with opera. She'd be like, if you don't clean your room, I'm going to blast Jesse Norman. And she would. And I'd be like, run to my room and clean it. That's how. My mom was also a very clever punisher.
Maybe I need to use this tactic.
Yeah, you can use that. You can also threaten to tap dance in the aisles of the grocery store when your kid's being bad. That always works.
Ooh, I like that one. My daughter's really at that age where
Yeah,
does not want her
so
mom to embarrass her.
yeah,
Yeah.
try tap dancing and always work. Like, no, Mom, no. You get creative.
Definitely taking those ones for sure.
I'll send you the Jesse Norman album that she used to blast.
Awesome.
And now I love it. Oh my God, she's amazing. But at the time, it's like, who hurt that woman? Why is she making those sounds?
So besides your mom and your grandma and your aunts and everybody, what other female musicians were an influence to you?
Yeah, I mean, in real life, those were all top tier influences. In like, you know, musicians that I used to listen to, I mean, Ella Fitzgerald was the first music that I remember hearing when I was a little kid. Like really little, like 4 years old. And I remember asking I thought first of all that her name was Elephants Gerald, because that's what made sense to me at 4 years old. I was like, I want to hear more elephants. My mom, what are you talking about?
That's
Anyway,
so cute.
so, but she's such a powerhouse, and sort of was on an improvisational tip that nobody could touch. You know, she was as much of an instrumentalist as she was a singer, and really like beastly in those qualities. She could, you know, solo vocally like the baddest sax player could solo. So could you hold on 1 second? There's a dog at my door that I just need to go nail it. I mean, you can come in if you want. It's cool. Anyway. Okay, hi. Come on. Okay, hi. She really, she wanted to come hang out. Make sure
My dog would be doing the same thing too if I wasn't in the basement.
Exactly. Hey.
My dog's gonna have the worst separation anxiety the first time I go for a run of shows.
So many dogs. I know. I feel bad about that, and especially people who just got dogs during quarantine and stuff. Just so many.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, what were we talking about?
You were talking about Ella Fitzgerald.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's just a beast. So I was really into her when I was little, and all through my life. I still think she's the greatest. Can you go outside now? Anyway, sorry.
No, you're good.
Maybe she'll get bored enough to just leave.
It's just
Yeah, there it goes. Okay. Yeah, but really, like the women who made the most impact in my life were the women that I grew up with, who were just doing it and doing Vermont's a funny place. Vermont is a place where if you're from there, it's sort of ingrained in you that you can do anything. You can do anything that men can do. It's not like it was just a way of life. Like, you know, I was out there like changing my own oil in my car, like stuff that apparently other people didn't do, kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And you know, you have to be able to know how to do everything. You have to know how to fix your car. You have to know how to like fix your tractor if it breaks, because there's no way to plow the snow because you live in the middle of the woods and you can't get out. And weird life skills that I don't need in downtown Nashville now. But you know, it's just like, and then it's like I married a Southern gentleman who's was raised that your sole purpose is to like provide for your family and be so chivalrous. And to me, I'm like, I don't need you to do that shit, you know? And so we've had to find like we finally found it after many years together, but of like me not making him feel emasculated by being like, oh, I can do it myself. And that it's funny. It's a funny thing.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way with my husband too. It's definitely been something that we've been working on. I think we've been together like 8 years now, and I feel you totally on that one.
Yeah, it's like, I can do it. He's like, yeah, but would you please let me? I'm like, oh, okay, all right, yeah, okay, cool,
sure, okay. And then I found that I actually like it.
Right? No, I've never. This is the first time that I've ever had this sort of relationship. So it's funny. And no, I really like it. I let him do stuff now.
For sure, for sure. I'm like, yeah, actually, you can definitely do that.
Yeah.
So talk about your friendship with Brendan Bayliss and how that started and your friendship with the rest of the guys in the band.
Man, I was a fan of the band, quite a while ago, many years. I don't even know, like, what year is it? Maybe 16 years ago or something. That like 2005 or something like that. I loved his voice and I loved the band and I loved how tight they were and I just thought they were interesting. And I was with Trey on a tour and we played Northerly Island. And I invited Brendan out. I was like, hey, I'm a fan of your band. I'm playing. If you want to stop by the show, please feel free. And so he came. We hung out before the show on the bus. And then as I was walking on stage, he goes, hey, don't blow it. I was like, oh, we're going to be friends forever. I was like, we just met. And that's what he said. I was like, okay, we're cool. So, and we've been friends ever since. Don't blow it.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I got to know the rest of the guys after that. But we've been friends a long time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's very awesome. So when was the first time you sat in with them?
Oh, I don't have any idea. So someone out there knows. Someone has the answer to that question. It's just not me. Because if I told you, it would be wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe one of the earliest ones was the first holidays. It was in Jamaica at that point. It was years ago. I don't know.
Long time ago.
It's been a long time.
Do you have a sit-in that like sticks out as maybe one of your favorites?
Probably the last Red Rocks. Probably the turn around, that whole mess.
Yeah.
That's probably good. Because they always try to get me to do like songs that guys sing that's either too high for them to do themselves or do something. And they're like, can you do that? Can you do this? And then I don't know them, so I have to learn them. And then finally, Brendan was like, what do you want to do? After like 15 years of just saying yes to ideas that they had. He's like, what do you want to do? I was like, maybe a song that a chick sings so I don't have to like sing like a dude. Anyway, so that was my suggestion. So that's the first time that they've ever asked me what I wanted. And I think it was a success. Maybe they'll let me choose another one someday.
If you could choose, have you thought about some tunes you would like and maybe you just haven't said anything yet?
Nope, I have not. I really like to live in the present moment. I'll figure it out though if they ask me again.
The first thing that comes to your mind, that would be
it might be Ella Fitzgerald, and then they'll say no.
I'd be like, you're done picking now. We've revoked your picking privileges.
We're a one and done situation. Which song should we take a poll? What song should I sing with them? Because you guys always have the greatest ideas.
I think that we should take a poll. I'll take a poll after the conversation. I personally feel, I don't know about cover wise, I guess Edge of 17 by Stevie Nicks would be incredible.
Yep.
I would love for you to sing Attachments, their song. I think that your voice is so powerful. I hear that, and when I think of you singing it, it gives me goosebumps. So
maybe I'll have to learn it, and then I'll just ambush the stage one day and grab a microphone.
I'll be like, yes!
This is for Sarah.
That would be incredible.
We have the kind of friendship that would be okay. I don't think anybody would be mad.
That would be great.
Yeah.
So I would love to know the funniest Bayliss story you can share on air.
Whoa. I mean, I think the funniest one I can share on air is probably one that he shared here with you.
He did share it, but I cut it out.
Oh, for real?
I did.
Why did you cut it out? Are you going to cut it out if I tell it? Did he ask you to cut it out?
Well, it was funny because I re-listened to that segment today, and it was at the very, very end. And I brought up, that you and I had just talked and talked about it. And he starts to tell the story, and then he's like, is this going to be on the show? And I'm like, I can cut it if you want to. And he didn't say anything. So I was just like, I'll pull it out.
Wow. Okay. So people haven't heard that story. I can tell it in a way that's not, no, he's so, yeah, no, I can tell it in a way that makes him not look bad at all. Cause he it's the truth. Okay. So 100,000 years ago, I mean, as long as his mom's not listening, I feel like it's okay.
I'm sure she's not listening.
I'm sure she's not listening. Sorry, Mrs. Bayliss, if you're listening.
I mean, thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Doing something else. Anyway, so like 100,000 years ago, we I took a trip out to South Bend on opening football day, Notre Dame. And he threw a huge rager because his parents were out of town. I mean, he was like not 16, like he was in his 20s. He was just having a rager when his parents went to Europe or something. So many people there who I didn't know and whatever. Anyway, so we were hanging out, not a lot of sleeping, lots of staying up and hanging out and drunken sing-alongs. And that's actually why we did Don't Let Me Down on the wine.
That was so good too.
We would sing that for 100 hours at a time and nobody knew the words. We'd be like, you know me. Anyway, that's like a very long history of drunken sing-alongs. Anyway, so when it finally got time to like who's sleeping where, he's like, you take my childhood room. He's like, I want you to be comfy. You take that room. And I was like, all right, cool. And it was probably 7 a.m. So I crawl into his bed, like getting ready to go to sleep. I got the covers over me and the door opens wide and like a wasted Bayliss comes in and he's like, hey! And he jumps on top of me, on top of the covers and grabs the headboard and starts humping me. And he's like, it's not sexual. It's purely territorial. It's purely territorial. I lost my virginity in this room to Harvest Moon. Okay, bye. Anyway, so if you don't edit it out, that's the story. Anyway, so that's it. It's purely territorial.
I'm leaving that in there. I'm making an executive decision.
Okay, great. Because I don't have any stories that even come close to that.
And you know what? You're right. It's way better than the way he told it.
Okay, good. Well, he was worried that, yeah. I'm not worried. I don't care. It was funny. There's nothing to be worried about. It's hysterical. Anyway, how far we've come.
That's great. But still doing the drunken sing-alongs, though.
Yeah, slightly less drunk. Yeah. Than they used to be. Far less drunk, actually.
And knowing more lyrics to the songs, which is...
Yeah, we had them in front of us.
You have the iPad now, so that certainly helps. The technology is what's come so far.
Friends. Yeah.
Oh my God. So you've played so many venues all over the country. What are a couple of your favorites?
I love Red Rocks is probably my favorite for obvious reasons. I mean, hello, it's gorgeous. Alpine Valley was always a favorite of mine.
Yeah.
And then, sometimes you get to play rooms that are really small and beautiful and intimate and perfect. There's a room in Jacksonville called the Blue Jay, which is a listening room that I absolutely love. And I think sold out. It's probably like 80 people. Super cool woman who runs it. And it's all like Victorian furniture. You go in there and you just like, it's very comfortable and very sweet. And I love playing there. So, it's not always like the biggest and the baddest. It's not always like, MSG is awesome. Mm-hmm. Like a tin warehouse,
Yeah.
I love that, so that's awesome too, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but I think some of those small vibey places are just some of my favorite places to be.
Yeah, for sure. It goes back to that feeling of playing for people.
Yeah,
you get that vibe for sure. So what is some advice that you would give a young female musician?
I would give a young female musician the same advice I would give a young male musician. Um, you know, you have to work hard, and you have to expect that not everybody is going to say yes. And like, how badly do you want it? How hard do you want to work? Um, it's a lot different than when I grew up, because I did grow up in the woods and I grew up without internet because I'm that age. So like I remember half of my life with no internet. And I was lucky enough to grow up without anybody watching me. And that's an impossibility now. Kids are immediately visible from the time they get an Instagram account, and everyone can see them. And I think it's done a real disservice with people not wanting to try new things and feeling like, oh, I'm not great at that, so I'm terrible at it. It's like I got to really figure out who I was and what I liked before I ever stepped in front of an audience. And that's a real blessing. I don't know how I would have done it with, how people live.
Or without a lot of influence from
Right.
with TV and other things too. I think that's an issue that a lot of young people have now is that what they are really into or like, or how they really are, as opposed to what they're just seeing and what they're thinking they should be.
Yeah. And you think about how like, how easily people chop people down. And it's just so it's like mind numbing and heartbreaking to see, just like people being so horrible. And so my advice is stay off the internet as much as you possibly can. There's some evil behavior that doesn't constitute real life. It's like there's such a disconnect between seeing everyone's like perfect filtered pictures and then real actual life where people are terrible at things because it's normal and human. And so anyway, that's my advice. It's like it's this really wise woman once told me, and it sounded really morbid at the time, but she's like, you come into this world alone and you leave alone. And so whatever you do in your time here is really between like you and your soul and you and your heart and whatever. So if you have a real strong purpose, like why you're here and what you need to do and what you want to do while you're here, then you can't listen to other people. You have to just like forage ahead as if no one's watching and you're just doing it for yourself. And it gets harder and harder and harder with all the outside noise. But, it's really just a matter of what you feel like your purpose is. It doesn't matter what anybody else's purpose is. If somebody else doesn't get it, fuck them, And if you encounter a bunch of people, there's so many young women who are, out of high school and just going to college and sort of having like weird interactions with, bands and men, like for the first time outside of like their parents' watch and their high school watch and whatever. And so many young women I've talked to who are like, I was in this situation, I was in a band or I was at a gig or whatever, and it was like all this inappropriate behavior and feel like they can't do anything because like, A, it's a gig and they need the money or whatever. And it's like, man, those are not your people, walk away, let it roll off your back, be like, deuces, go, moving on. People like really have like a sort of like resentful buildup that keeps them from moving forward. But it's like, not everybody is going to be, with you, walking your path with you. And if it's not in your vibe, keep it moving.
And it turns out that those people are not the people you would want walking with you anyways.
No.
So you're like, it's just fine.
Yeah, exactly. Like someone else will love you just the way you are. It's not me,
Yeah.
I think women have like a little bit of a hard time, like being ballsy and standing up for themselves. It depends on how, what your situation is. But at that age, when you're so young and you haven't lived very much life and you haven't had that happen to you a million times, because it'll happen to you a million times.
For sure.
Like, and you can either let it bother you, or I'm talking about like senseless, dumb stuff that happens every day. But
for sure.
Anyway, just the surer of yourself that you can be, the better time you're gonna have out there in the wilderness.
Yeah. That's just great life advice for sure. For sure. So I found out today, I had no idea until I was doing a little research here, that I had no idea that you played trumpet on Birds of a Feather on the Story of the Ghost album.
Yep.
So that's pretty incredible. And you were young too.
Yeah.
So
17.
Talk about that. Like, how did that happen?
Yeah. I was a senior in high school, band nerd of all band nerds. And I got a call on my answering machine at that time. It was this like sweet little meek little voice. It was like, "Hi, I'm looking for Jennifer. My name's Trey. I play with the band Fish." Anyway, so he had gotten my name from someone that I used to play with in Burlington, from Dave Grippo, who's phenomenal, and they had done a bunch of work together. And Trey was working on his very first solo record and needed a trumpet player, and asked Dave who to get. Dave was like, "Oh, you haven't met Jen yet. You're gonna love Jen." So I went to the session, and we recorded for that record, One Man's Trash. And then we started to just kind of like work together every time he needed a trumpet player for something. And yeah, that was 97 that we recorded that. It came out in 98. And so, yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. And I read that. I was like, holy shit, that's so cool.
Yeah, long time ago. Yeah, and he was just the coolest, and so he was just so easy to work with and so wonderful, and still is.
Yeah. So you've been with Tab, what, 20 years it is now?
Yeah, my first tour was 20 years ago. Like last week, I got a notification of something that was like, "This was your first show." Someone told me. See, like, people need to tell me these things. I don't know when it happened. Yeah, so 20 years since I played my first show with them, but I started working with him 3 years prior to that.
Wow. So he just like called you up and was like, "I'm putting together this band." So I don't know a lot about Tab. So have you been in the band since the beginning, or did you come in like a little bit later?
So it started out as a trio. It started as Trey and Russ and Tony. And when they added the horn section, I was part of that. And I think the trio only did maybe a tour or two before they added a horn section. So yeah, I've been there since pretty much old Jump Street. And
that's incredible.
Yeah, it's been amazing. We've seen each other through a lot of phases of our lives, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, the band is so beautiful. The band is full of like wonderful musicians and wonderful people, and who are truly your family, And I talk about this a lot too, when people are talking about, being a woman in a man's field and whatever, because it is severely male dominated. It's like, I was lucky enough, and now I know how lucky I was. At the time, I was a baby and I didn't know, but I was so lucky that like I was on a tour bus with 11 men who were all so protective of me and always took care of me, and were all like my uncles and dads, and that was their role. And then it wasn't until like a few years ago where I realized that they all have daughters. Every single person who has a kid on that bus had daughters, and I wasn't that much older than their kids, So it's been an incredible life with them, and we're all still super close. Even the people who aren't in the band anymore, we're all still super close. And really, it's like it's a beautiful story. It's not a normal band story. It's like usually after 20 years, you all want to kill each other. But yeah, it's been really lovely.
That's incredible. That's very cool. What is something that you never leave for tour without?
I mean, obviously my trumpet.
Obviously.
What's my, I can't leave home without, that's like special and different than what anybody else would say? I always leave home without my toothbrush. I never bring it. I'm an anti-brusher. Just kidding. I usually have a pretty sizable crystal collection.
Nice. Nice.
A couple years ago, I was on a little vacation with a friend of mine, and she, everywhere she goes, she sets up, like every hotel room she's in, she sets up a whole situation. She's like little Buddhas and crystals and whatever. I was like, I'm not that OCD, but I really like that. I started doing it. So I always bring like my favorite couple with me.
That's cool. That's very cool. I love that. I definitely take some with me too when I travel, and I like have them in the car and
yeah. Hey, listen, what can it hurt?
Exactly. And they're pretty to look at. So
yeah, they're beautiful.
I mean, I can spiral down the hole in a store and buy way too many.
Oh my God. Yeah. I stopped thinking about what I was going to get my mom for her birthday about 8 years ago, when I realized the answer is always the same thing. So it's just like, let's get her another crystal. She's super deep down the rabbit hole. Her collection.
That's awesome.
Stunning.
It's so easy though, and it's so great when that's when you can buy somebody, you're like, this is easy.
Yeah, and she's stoked about it every time. She always tells me about the first time that she sleeps with it next to her bed and how crazy her dreams are. She always has like bizarro, cuckoo, bananas, flying dreams and saving the world, and this is really cool to hear about it.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I have my nice little setup like next to my bed in my room. It's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. I love to hear that. Do you buy new ones like when you go to different cities and stuff?
Definitely.
That's cool.
Yeah, I figure that's it's a nice thing to do, is walk around and see if you can find the Hetty Crystal shop.
For sure. It's always like kind of in like a cool neighborhood too.
Right. And it's like, oh yeah, no, I have that. Ooh, it's that. That one.
For sure. And then when you like get into the conversation with like the store clerk, you feel like so cool.
Yeah. Like, do you want to come on the bus with us and just come to the next city?
So my daughter takes lessons with Joel every week, and he wanted me to ask you what your favorite Whitesnake song is to perform.
That's a loaded question. That's the answer. The one that he made me sing is the answer. Whatever the name of that one is, if that's the answer to the question.
It's that one.
It's that one. I don't remember what the name of the song is, because I wasn't a 10-year-old boy when it came out. But
no, it's probably the one with the music video with the girl on the car, I bet.
Oh, it might be. Whatever one they made me sing when I was in Texas.
Okay, I don't know, but I'll make a note of this and look it up. It won't be hard to find.
It's not hard to find. Where were we? We were in Austin, I think. Austin or Dallas.
Okay. I'll definitely look that up for sure. That's funny.
Yeah, that wasn't an honest question.
Yeah, I knew. It's coming from Joel. There was no way it was going to be an honest question.
I made you sing.
For sure. I knew it had to come back to him in some way.
Yeah.
But I had to ask, so when I see him on Monday, I can rib him about it.
Yeah. I don't remember the name of the song, but he knows.
Of course he knows. Of course he knows. So what do you have in store for the rest of the year? I mean, there's some shows starting to be announced and some things are starting to open up. So what do you have going on?
I'm staying pretty cautious, with stuff. Mostly because I don't want to get excited and then get disappointed. And so I think, comfort level for me right now is still outdoors. I'm vaccinated and still feel like that. I think until we know a little bit more about what this phase of life looks like with vaccinations, yet crazy other variants and whatever. I'm not going to get excited about, going back on tour. I think it's too soon to do that. But even during last October, my friend Nick Casarino, who's the guitar player in Nth Power, he and I did a bunch of outdoor private shows in Colorado right before it got cold, and totally socially distanced. Everybody like brings their blanket and their family and sits and we kept doing, and it was so nice because they were so appreciative, because it had been 9 months since they'd heard music, or 8 months or 7 months or whatever, and Denver really loves their music. And so we did that for a few weeks, which was really lovely for us to be able to play and for people to be able to hear. I mean, people were just like crying and so happy, and like it was really moving. And so I feel like for me, that's going to continue for a little while, maybe through this summer, and especially now we can be on the East Coast and it's going to warm up in a few. And and I'm going to make a new record at some point pretty soon.
Exciting.
Yeah, stoked. And then we'll just kind of see, everybody's, no one has the answers. So I think we let it ride. And whenever we're able to be back, we will certainly be back.
For sure. It's going to be insane when we can. So I'm kind of okay with still waiting for a little bit, because I know once it happens, it's going to be hard to get out to see everything, because there's going to be so much to see.
Right.
So I'm kind of okay with waiting a little bit still.
Yeah. Everybody wants to be back working, so bad, but everybody also wants to be safe about it, obviously.
For sure.
But yeah, I think we wait and hope for the best.
That's all we've really been doing for the past year anyways. So
I know. Good job, everybody, by the way.
Serious high fives all around for everybody.
I mean that. It has been nightmarish and roller coasterish and all the things, and I think we deserve a giant pat on the back, the whole world, for dealing.
Yeah, for making it this far, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely gold star for everybody.
Yeah, gold star.
Way to be a team player.
Yeah.
All those other motivational things, for sure.
Exactly.
You got out of bed today.
Exactly. You didn't smoke a pack of cigarettes? Good for you.
You didn't yell at your kids.
Yet.
For sure. This morning. Oh, that's so funny. Well, this has been really wonderful. That's everything I have. I mean, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to touch on, or.
No, I think we covered the bases. I told an embarrassing Bayliss story.
Yeah, we had to get that in there.
Didn't really answer to Joel's question. I feel good about all that.
We talked enough about them, so that's good. We covered enough of them, so we're good.
Yeah, that's cool. I love that they come to Nashville, don't even say hi.
Wow.
Hi guys. Thanks for checking. Brandon's like, I'll see you next week.
There's such guys like that though.
like I knew they were coming. Like I didn't go over there either. It's just easier to razz them about it.
Oh yeah, of course. That's hilarious. Well, thank you for this. This has been so wonderful.
Good. It's nice to see you. And
yes, you too. Oh, and I have to tell you this, because I was going to bring this up to you, and I don't remember if I brought this up to you when we did that little meetup with Chris and Jeff. But in 2015 at the Ravinia, in Chicago, you came and you, I think, maybe did like 1 or 2 songs with the guys. And before that, there was like a VIP meet and greet. And I was back there with my son, who at the time was only like 6 months old. Now he's 6.
Wow.
So long ago. And I saw you. He was in the carrier. So he's like on me and he's like faced out and chilling. And I saw you walk by and I yelled your name, and you came over and said hi. And I said, can I have a hug? And you were like, yeah. And so we embraced, and my son was on the front of me. And I will never forget the look on his face when we pulled away. Like,
Like,
that
oh,
was amazing.
like, I can't breathe, you guys.
He was like the happiest
Oh,
breastfed baby ever, just
oh,
sandwiched in there.
yes. 2 more.
For sure.
Oh, that's great.
So that's like my favorite. That's my favorite Jen Hartswick story. So
Sometimes people are like, I met you once 10 years ago and you were so mean. Makes me sad. It's never the case. It's just that I didn't hear you say my name and you thought I was dissing you. I would never not say hi. It's just not who I am. I would never come not crush your baby if I heard you. So I'm glad that I heard you.
and it was awesome. It was a great hug too. So I think of it fondly now that we can't hug anyone. So
Okay, good. Well, next time I see you, I'm gonna hug you. Kid or no kid.
good. I hope so. Because I'm gonna definitely need some hug quotas filled up here.
Man, look out. You talk about the yeah, it's gonna be a whole revolution.
That's what I tell all my friends. I'm like, just so everybody's on the same page, I'm gonna randomly hug you a bunch. So get ready for it.
Yeah. My best friend called me. I got my first shot a week and a half ago, and she calls me and she is like, can you make out with me now? She's like, I just want to touch people. I just want to. She calls them droplet parties. She's like, I just want to have a droplet party where like we could just freely just be who we are. She's so struggling some days, and then the next day she's fine, but we're all in need of a good hug and a droplet party.
I agree.
Say things to you and say them without fear that I'm gonna spit on you. Okay, anyway, it's been lovely. This really is only coffee in this mug, I promise.
That's okay if it's not. Well, this has been so great.
Yeah, it's nice to see you. Take care. Stay safe.
Yes, you
Tell
too.
the kids to go back outside.
For sure. And the time's gonna change soon. We got some more hours of daylight. Yes.
Yeah.
So here for it.
Good stuff.
Definitely.
All right.
Well, I hope you have a great rest of your night.
You too.
Yeah.
I will see you out there sometime soon, hopefully.
Yes. Hopefully, when we're all ready.
Exactly.
Yes. All right. Sending you love and big hugs.
You too. Thanks. See you soon.
Bye.